you're going to have one no matter what. It's just whether it's a good one or a bad one. And the difference between the two is simply about a day or two of conscious planning.
All right, so hi everyone. Welcome back to the Take Back Your Biz interview series, helping business owners gain more freedom and joy by talking with industry influencers to figure out what they have taken back that they value. So I'm your host, Lauren Black, creative strategist and owner of Bosscation, a business retreat in a box to help entrepreneurs break free from your daily grind to strategically plan for your business. To see all influencer interviews, make sure you head on over to bosscation.com/takebackyourbiz. And we also have a free challenge coming up and a bunch of awesome giveaways to go along with the challenge. So make sure you check that out. But before I go any further, let me introduce you to Christina Scalera. So Christina and I met at the Savvy Business Owners Conference back about a year ago, and she's an attorney. What? I know, it's been over a year, which is insane because I feel like I was such a business baby back then, like so new. And so it's interesting seeing everybody's business progression since just a year ago. But Christina is an attorney for creatives and small business owners, offering contract templates. As you see behind her, the contract shop is her business. And so she has templates that are available for wedding professionals and designers, photographers, anybody in the small business realm, really. I was just looking at your website and there are so many awesome contracts available, which is so great because then small business owners, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars getting contracts, but then you're still covered legally, which is awesome. So, and Christina also is a co-host of one of my favorite podcasts. The Creative Empire podcast is one that I love just binge listening to because every episode is so awesome. So thank you for hosting that. And then I also love your blog. So Christina's blog and her Insta stories even just get really real with entrepreneurs to make sure that you're not just like copying everybody else in the business world, but that you're actually being intentional with your business and building out something that works for you and that will grow. So thank you for all that awesome content. But
I'm happy to provide it, and thank you for consuming it, because if it just sat there in piles on the internet, it wouldn't be any fun for you or me or anybody else. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, I know at one point you were restructuring your websites, and I clicked on a link to get to one of your blog posts and it wasn't there. And I was freaking out. I was like, no, I need this.
As of today, actually about 2 hours ago, everything is restored. I had taken down my eponymous domain name, but it's all back up.
Awesome. Good. Well, yeah, I checked it out earlier and saw that the blog was there. So anyway, without further ado, I'd love to chat about what you are taking back. So take back your
client experience.
Awesome. So what have you kind of done and experienced that has made you want to talk about this? So how has the client experience impacted your business?
Yeah, for sure. So I have two businesses, but they go so well hand in hand that I'm fortunate. I only have to do marketing for one, and then the other one just kind of falls into place. So I have the contract shop, which is done for you contract templates. And then I also have a law firm that has service-based legal services. So two totally different companies. And what I found early this year is when I was looking at our workflows, our processes, like how can we make this flow even better? I was looking into bringing team members on, which meant I was going to have to delegate some of the things to these contractors or potential employees. And I was like, things aren't really running very smoothly right now for my clients. Like I don't really have a system. I just kind of know where everybody's at. And that made me really uncomfortable. Everybody sends these beautiful client gifts. I didn't have any of that. And, more importantly than any of that was in my law firm, in the service-based business that I have, I was getting a lot of the same questions over and over again, which led me to question like, okay, this client experience that they're getting, I don't really even feel like it's an experience at this point. They're just kind of a client. They're getting a service. There's an exchange of money. That's it. So this year, I've just become obsessed with different companies that are really providing experiences. As a Dollar Shave Club. Looking at places like Starbucks and Zappos and just kind of the stereotypical places that provide this amazing client experience, and asking what these companies do differently. And it really started because when I realized that I didn't really have that client experience or that workflow in place, and that it was driving me crazy. I was repeating a lot of stuff, sending a lot of the same messages over and over again, and just thinking there had to be a more efficient, better way to do all this. When I was there in that stage of my business earlier this year, I was looking for resources. And so usually when I look for resources, the first place that I go is Pinterest. Unfortunately, Pinterest didn't have anything. So I was searching in quotes, client experience, how to have a great client experience, how to give your clients a great experience, all these like combinations of these words. And I just really wasn't turning up with much. It was kind of more articles about how to have a great blog or how to sell products on Etsy and that kind of thing. But there wasn't really any definitive resource about client experience. So what I set about doing, and I can't say that I've perfected it or that I'm anywhere near it, but what I have set about doing this year is taking small steps to improve my client experience in my service-based business, but really to improve our customer service at the contract shop, because I just believe it's so crucial that if you rely or would like to rely on referral traffic at all, which I don't think is great to rely on 100%, but it can be an excellent free source of traffic to your business. It's vital that you come up with not just a plan, but like an entire strategy and system around how you're going to treat your potential clients and your potential customers. So we at this point have workflows around the kinds of emails that we receive over and over again. I have a format that my assistant who handles my emails follows when she answers all of them. And so, I hope that's enough of a backstory just to tell you guys like why I got so involved and I'm so excited and passionate about client experience. The other reason, I guess that's most of the reason, but the other reason is obviously because my product is contract templates. And if you don't have a contract that's a part of your client experience, I really feel like you're missing out, which is kind of weird, admittedly, to say, because usually contracts are kind of icky and scary for people. They don't want to send them to clients. They're scared that the client's going to get them and kill the service agreement. Like the client's just not going to move forward because they don't want to deal with this contract thing. But I think that we can actually be more professional and more efficient business owners by having a contract that we send to our clients. It communicates that you're a professional. It communicates that you are serious about what you're doing. This isn't just a hobby for you. And it also communicates that you're going to basically take care of the client during your work together. So it's just your contract can be a really nice place to wrap up all those expectations, not just on your end, what is the client going to be doing? Obviously paying you, but like, how is that going to happen? But also on their end. So that's a great place to set forth those expectations that, commonly kind of fall behind. As a graphic designer, you could be waiting months for a client to get back to you sometimes.
Oh yeah. There are just so many issues that I've seen as in the design group that I'm in, of all graphic designers. So many times people will come and they'll say, oh, I'm having this issue with the client, or it might not even be an issue, but they're just, oh, this client wants to now license the designs that I created for them. And, all these things that come up that everybody's response is, well, what's in your contract? And so many times people didn't even use a contract or didn't have it written out in their contract. And over again, you see issues between the client and the designer because they didn't have a contract, whereas they might have been trying to save the client the time or the effort from having to read through the contract, when in the end, it would have been a better client experience if they had just outlined everything from the start.
I would completely agree with that. But to take it a step further, it's really about how we communicate to our potential clients. And I like to think of contracts as a sandwich. So you can sandwich your contract in between communication. So erring on the side of over communication is never a bad thing. And on the one end of things, we have a pre-booking consultation. And this usually takes place in the form of an in-person consultation. maybe Skype if they're out of the country, or if you prefer to talk that way. And then phone is also a really common way to do this. And the pre-client consultation is a really nice time for you to hit on all the highlights of what the client can expect from you. So maybe like how their life is going to be transformed by your service. It's a nice time for you to lightly shine there and remind them why they came to you to work with you, but then also a great time to instill trust in that client by just nailing any elephants in the room. So talking about price, overcoming common objections that have sunk past clients and caused them not to book you. Anything that you feel like would become a problem later on, or that you have seen in past relationships, or if you're just starting out, what you might expect from your own view as maybe a client to somebody else in a different service, nailing all those things head on. The pre-client consultation is the perfect spot to do that. So that's the first touch point that we have, where we start to layer on what our expectations of the client are and what they can expect from us. Then comes the contract, and the contract is obviously that binding legal document that you both sign, and it should really just kind of outline everything that you have talked about in that pre-client consultation. So it should list out all the payment dates, all the, the elephants in the room, everything that's going to be delivered, any kind of important dates. So if you have maybe like hallmark dates along your project, when things are due, especially things that you'll need from a client in order to keep going with that service, that's important to have in there. We can talk about contracts forever, but continuing on with this idea of a sandwich. So we've talked to the clients first about what it's like to work with us and what we expect of each other, and then we solidify that in a contract and in the meat of the sandwich. On the back end of the sandwich, we have client magazines. And what a client magazine does is exactly what you might think when you hear the words client and magazine. It's literally a magazine that you create for your clients. And luckily, it's super easy to create a beautiful, easy magazine to give to clients just by using all the templates that are available. So two of the providers of these templates that I really, really love, or three really, Megan Martin Creative has some great templates. Davey and Krista have some also great magazine templates. And then Jenna Kutcher has her own magazine templates. And so those are all at different price points, and they all have very different design styles and kind of pre-written content that you can start to create your own client magazine around. This is just further driving home the wedge, telling your client how professional you are, that you've thought about them well in advance, that you're addressing the things that are likely to be concerns of theirs. And it's all done through this really beautiful either PDF if you don't want to print it, or if you want to print it, you can do that through services like MagCloud, like magazine and cloud. MagCloud's a great service. So it can be wrapped up with a little ribbon, and that can be your client gift. It can be something that's really informative and comes to your clients once a year. It could be sent out to every client upon booking your services. The possibilities are really endless, but this is a great place to drive home any of the things that clients tend to forget after they've signed the contract. So, any kind of due dates, I know it will be different for each client. It's kind of exhausting to create this for each client. So I recommend just creating a general one that has like general guidelines and not exact dates in it. The clients or the contract's the more appropriate place for those exact dates. But yeah, a client magazine is a fantastic tool that you can use anytime that you want to have this amazing client experience from start to finish.
I know I use a digital version, but I love the idea of having a printed one, just because in such a digital world these days when everything's online, it's so nice to have a physical piece that comes in the mail, and the physical touch, sometimes that soft paper, and it just really does add to the client experience.
Yeah, for sure. It adds to it. And now you've given them 3 touch points to go over the most important details of your working relationship together, which means no surprises later. And there's no awkward conversations about, somebody thought something was going to happen and it didn't, or they thought they were paying a different amount of money than they were actually charged for. All of these little tiny things like that add up. they're what cost you referrals in the long run. And so if you want to minimize the amount of, unhappy clients and maximize the amount of happy clients who are super excited and impressed with you with all these tools at your disposal that are going to share you out like crazy to your friends, it's a really nice way that you can hopefully take your Bosscation box and maybe spend a little extra time beyond the contents of the box to start to cultivate and create some of these things in your business.
Yeah, for sure. So what would you say is the number one most important element to a good customer experience?
The number one element, hands down, I mean, I'm a little bit biased, is definitely the client contract, because you can set yourself apart so easily with this document. It's crazy. I've seen client contracts that have anything from, 1 or 2 pages that barely cover anything and aren't really helpful for the client, because as people, we actually really enjoy having guidance. Like, we really enjoy having rules, even if we consider ourselves rebels and rule breakers. I definitely would fall into that category. It's still really comforting when you're in a new situation to know exactly what is and isn't allowed. And a lot of times the people that we're working with have never had a service provider that's providing the service that we have before. So for example, if you're working with brides, they probably haven't been married. Like, chances are this is their first wedding and they don't know what it's like to book a wedding photographer. If they're a new business owner, they probably don't have a graphic designer yet, and they're working with you and don't really know what the process should look like. They don't know what they should be giving you. And it's really comforting to have someone like you take them by the hand and walk them through, this is how it will look. This is what you can expect. This is when I need XYZ from you to continue on with the project. And this is how much you're going to be paying for it. Even if that's just an estimate, it just does a lot to calm down that person and make them feel better, because let's face it, if you're investing in the Bosscation box, like, your service isn't cheap. It's probably several hundred to several thousands of dollars. And anytime we can take an opportunity to help our clients feel like they've made the right decision, and just really reassure them in the fact that, yes, you've spent hundreds or even thousands of dollars with us, but you're in good hands by reiterating this through the contract, through the client magazine, any touch point that we can do that through good communication, good emails, those are going to be what propel your relationship forward and leave you with those awesome Google ratings or Wedding Wire reviews or, Facebook comments or whatever it is. Momentum in your business, we all think it's like going to come from this big break that, suddenly you're going to be featured on Oprah's list of like the best things ever. But that's not how it happens. Real momentum happens by these little tiny steps in the right direction. And it's something that you're already doing, which is why I think it's the number one thing that you need to be focusing on is your client experience. Because you're going to have one no matter what. It's just whether it's a good one or a bad one. And the difference between the two is simply about a day or two of conscious planning.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to take a long time. And especially if you set things up, then you're already, it's already in place. So you do it once, and instead of having to repeat a bunch of little steps, and, I actually experienced a poor kind of client experience at one point with somebody I was trying to hire a service, and they did not have a contract. And so even though I really liked their portfolio of work of what I was looking for, I was a little nervous and almost didn't proceed with them and went with a competitor that didn't have quite as good of work because I was afraid of, what was going to happen. I asked them what's included in the package. They said everything. Well, what does everything include?
Right.
And so I had to have them specify and made them send me a contract. I didn't have time to create my own for their service. And then in the end, it was also kind of a done for you service. And they sent me a half finished product and said, oh, you can change the rest how you want it. And I was like, well, I hired you so I didn't have to do this myself. I could have done the whole thing and saved a lot of money, but I hired you for a reason so I didn't have to do it. So yeah, the whole client journey could have been affected, and it wouldn't have taken that much longer to have that contract ready and in place to send to me as soon as I was interested in booking. Like they almost lost me as a client because they weren't, on top of it with, the procedures and the structure and including what's, in this package.
Yeah. And I have a little story I want to share if I can. This is actually how the contract shop started. I had taken a break from my legal career. So I was working in-house and just long story short, decided to take a break. I was in very poor health and wanted to completely change gears. So of course I go in like the furthest opposite direction that I can. And I become a yoga teacher. Unfortunately, even as an attorney, when I started getting client inquiries, I set up the beautiful blog, had the graphic design, kind of like checked all the boxes, right? Well, now people are approaching me. They've heard about me. I've done the work, the hustle to start getting people to look at my business and consider me as a yoga teacher. What ended up happening is that they contacted me. I had 2 people that I lost as clients because as an attorney, I couldn't draft a contract fast enough and I didn't have it ready to go. So if I'm sitting there as a yoga teacher / attorney, and it's taking me, a week or 2 to like draft this contract and make sure I have it, and it's, something that's both accessible to a layperson, but also protects them legally. If I can't do that myself as a yoga, this is Christina circa 2014. If I couldn't do that then, how could people that have never gone to law school, never trained with some of, the best contract drafting professors in the States, worked at a law firm, worked in-house, like how could somebody without all that experience do this? And that was when it really was like a swift kick in the you-know-what, because I just, that combined with a couple different experiences, I got involved with the Tuesdays Together group in my area, and just really saw this huge gaping hole for people. And it's like you said, Lauren, I think people just don't realize how easy it is to pull all this together. And I'm not even telling you this to sell you one of my contracts. That's not why I'm here. I'm definitely here to promote this good client experience. If I was just here to sell templates today, I wouldn't have like a stockpile of over 400 hours of podcast episodes, or, literally you could spend days reading all the content on my blog at this point. It's like 3 years worth of content. If I was just here to promote my stuff, I would not give away so much for free. I'm just saying all this to stress the importance of how a client contract fits into your business. So whether it's on the back of a napkin or it's a more formal agreement, you can't have a business without some kind of client service provider contract. Or if you're a product-based business for some reason in here, a terms and conditions to the use of your website to customer. And the reason why I say that is because you can have a business without a website. You can have a business without an LLC. You can have a business without even business bank accounts, though I probably wouldn't recommend that. But you can have a business without all of these things. All that you really need at the core of any kind of business arrangement is someone that's willing to pay you and someone that's willing to offer a service. So together, it might start off really informally. You have a friend who just needs some headshots and you're a photographer. You guys meet up at a soccer field after school, take some headshots for her and go on your merry way. It could start as simply as that. And then, eventually you're starting to get people who pay you and that are expecting services in return for that payment. So that is literally all you need to get a business started. I hope that's encouraging, that you don't have to have all these like bells and whistles. Of course, they're going to help you at a certain point, but there's literally nothing you need more than, even if it's just, like I said, a back of a napkin agreement.
Yeah. So with all that said, it still is, for me, looking at anybody who has a more passive business, it's hard to tell, like, how do you personalize that experience or make that a good customer experience where someone can just go download a contract on your website and be done and never talk to you again? So how do you, get the client referrals and develop relationships with people when it is a download?
Such a good question, Lauren. I only sell digital products. I live nomadically. I have an office here in Georgia and I travel all over the country. We live in Colorado half the year. And the way that I'm able to do that and still sell digital products while still attempting to provide the best customer service possible is first of all, one, there's never going to be a shortage of customer service needs, no matter what you're selling. If it's a digital good, if it's a service, if it's a physical product, like someone's always going to have some kind of complaint or didn't receive something or an email got lost. So you will never have a shortage of opportunities to reach out to people and really make their day and surprise them with excellent service. And all it takes is a formula. And so the formula that I've come up with is that I always thank them for taking the time to write in. Even if they're super irate and angry for whatever reason, we always thank them. We're just very appreciative that they took the time. I always validate how they're feeling without, I guess, telling them that that's like the right or wrong way to feel. So, I understand that you're frustrated. I understand that you're upset. I understand that you didn't receive what you thought you would. And then we work through it from there. So, what would make this whole? How could this be better for you? I'm happy to give you an XYZ discount. I'll throw in this product for free. So I'm very conscious, I'm not like giving away a lot for free because I don't want it to ever be a situation where people are just taking advantage of me. But just using common sense to have those interactions with customers. There's a lot of marketers out there that love these negative reviews that they get on Amazon and Wedding Wire and all that, because it gives them an opportunity to look like the bigger person, like the better business owner. I'm not saying I'm like the better business owner, by the way. I'm just saying it gives them a great opportunity to show up when that person is least expecting it. So they're just irate. They didn't get what they wanted. They're upset and they're not expecting anyone at the company to listen to them. And then all of a sudden someone does listen to them and they do give them the time of day. And then they go above and beyond that and really help that person out in a way that they weren't expecting. They gave them a free product. They gave them a second chance. They, asked them, how would this make you, what could we do to make this better for you? And just give them an outlet to vent and, kind of like be that what's that bag thing called when you like go boxing?
Yeah.
Just give them a place to kind of vent their frustrations and beat the bag up, whatever that thing's called. It's invaluable. And that's how you provide really great customer service. I think just to kind of wrap that discussion up, I'm always looking for really innovative ways to surprise and delight our customers. So one of the things that I love doing is writing handwritten notes to each and every purchaser. It gets a little crazy during our sale and promotional periods. We have those twice a year. And I have to admit that not everybody during those periods gets a handwritten thank you note, but we're working on that. And I'm constantly looking at, how can we add team members or customer service associates in my company that aren't necessarily going to give us a net positive ROI. Like I'm not looking at it and saying, wow, I added that person and we added, $5,000 to our monthly revenue or something. That's not what's happening. It's probably net negative, but it's just important for me for people to trust us. And I think that's just built over time. So just always having a consistent touch point that's a positive and uplifting experience is huge. You can't underestimate that.
Yeah, you often do see people responding to the negative reviews on Amazon or on other websites with very defensive kind of negative. They put down the client, and it's a turnoff to you as an outsider to see them, being angry back instead of trying to offer something in return or trying to soothe the client and really see things from their perspective. Because if you were in their shoes, you have to think about what you would want from that situation.
Yeah, 100%. It does not send a good signal if someone's getting attacked. So yeah, there's so much psychology in that. I would love to go into it, but I know this was a discussion about client experience. So
yeah. So, but moving on from just client experience and just going into a little bit more general business, what do you do to plan ahead in your business?
Yeah, I am a dreamer and a visionary. I am not an executor. I'm horrible at it. I'm not good at organizing things. I love a clean house, but I am not organized. My guy often makes fun of me because he says I'm clean, but messy as heck. So it's no different inside our Google Drive account. I mean, I am going a million miles a minute with all these ideas. And what I had to do was hire really two core people on our team that are solely in charge of helping me execute. So my brand director, online business manager, whatever you want to call her, she's my boss, basically. Sarah, she tells me exactly what projects we're working on based on like these big visionary things I've set out. And she's actually broken them down into task management and like steps and assigned them to the right team member. So if it's me, sometimes I have to, usually I'm just creating the content and then we're sending that off to the right team members, right? Like graphic designers are turning our Google Docs into PDFs and so on and so forth. So Sarah's really great at doing that. And that's all done through Asana. You know, there's no reason why I couldn't do that myself other than I just don't get that done
Yeah.
When it's left to myself.
So you've mentioned Asana and Google Drive. Are there any other kind of critical platforms that you use to keep organized and stay ahead in your business?
Yeah. So, I mean, in my service-based business, I use HoneyBook to manage my clients, although we're looking into a more like legal-centric software. I've worked with HoneyBook, and so that was why I use them. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like all the platforms we use. We use ActiveCampaign for our email marketing. Our site is now, by the time this comes out, it will be on Shopify, which has cleaned up a lot of the back-end stuff. I mean, Slack for communication is huge. It's always a struggle usually with new team members because I'm like, I'm just not going to respond to your emails. I'm sorry. I'm not like trying to be, you know, a rude lady. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here, but so we use Slack and Asana. People have tried to convert me to Trello, and the Trello board's just like right over my head. So I can deal with the list. I love checking out the tasks, watching the unicorn jump across the screen, but Trello is like rocket science to me. It's just Greek.
Yeah, Trello gives me a headache because there's like vertical scroll and horizontal scrolling at the same time, and it's just too much for my brain to focus.
It's too much for me. But I mentioned a second person. I think this is really critical. I hired a content manager, and earlier this year, we had tried out a strategy where we were blogging 3 times a week. So we had to hire copywriters because I don't know about you, but I don't have time to write 3 times a week for 6 months straight. So we hired copywriters, and it quickly became too overwhelming for me to manage all them. So I hired a project manager, which was Nicole, who had been a copywriter, and just kind of like bumped her up in our hierarchy. But I think if you can find somebody to manage certain projects for you, it's huge, and it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. Nicole is not cheap, but there's certainly a lot of places to find people that can be project managers. So the way that I like to look at our social media and our content, our products, all of these different areas of my business, I like to actually think about them as different projects. So it kind of puts in perspective for someone like me who likes to overwork. It really puts things into perspective as far as, wow, you really do have a lot on your plate. Because when you look at it in what I would consider the more traditional way, kind of like where I was when I started, it was like, yeah, I need to be on Instagram and Facebook Live and doing YouTube and writing a blog post and selling things and working with clients. Like, it was crazy. And so if you look at that, each one of those things as an individual project, I mean, you would never say to yourself, well, I would hope you would never say to yourself, we're going to launch 12 courses in the next month and it's going to be great. That's essentially the equivalent of like trying to do Instagram at the same time you're doing content, at the same time you're selling. So I like looking at things from that direction. It also makes it easy to delegate because then you can put a project manager in charge of every single, thing that you're working on as far as projects go.
Yeah, I had a friend who's a photographer, and for her, it's so hard for her to let go of the control over things like the photo editing or choosing which pictures and sending out the contracts because she wants to make sure it's done right. But sometimes I think when you overlook your employees too much, or not overlook, but you're looking over their shoulder too much, it kind of keeps them from being able to reach their potential and do their job. So when you're able to step back and give the control, and with my assistant, sometimes I don't have time to approve the graphics for our social media. And so I told her, just move on without me. And I have put my trust in you, hired you for a reason, because I can trust that you're able to, do the job that you're set out to do. And that gives the employee or the contracted worker a little more confidence in themselves, and definitely takes the burden off of you from having to have your hand in everything.
Yeah. I mean, very rarely have I been, if you do the work up front and you vet someone and you give them a couple test projects, I mean, very rarely are you sideswiped. It still happens, but very rarely does it happen where you were just like, wow, what happened there? I didn't see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
More often than not, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I never would have done that myself or caught that or, seen that, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we are our own worst enemy and we just get in our way so much.
Yeah. Well, we can get tunnel vision too. So I had a blog post that I posted live today, and my assistant wrote me an email. She said, in your blog post, you mentioned that there's a video at the bottom, but I don't see the video. So is there one? Like, did you record the video and just forget to upload it? And I had posted the video too, so I was able to, plug that in, but it was something that I missed. And that's not even one of her responsibilities. She just happened to catch it. And so
Right.
that's, the nice thing about having a team, that they can catch things that you might not even see yourself.
Oh, 1000%. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to add about, taking back your business, taking back your client experience as we wrap things up here?
Yeah, we talked a lot about having teams and having, outsourced help. And if you're not at that place, like if you're not at that point in your business yet, um, that's okay. I hope nobody's discouraged by that, or, they hear about one of our teams and they're like, oh, she's a bigger team than me. Of course she's getting more done. It was just me for a year. And then I finally got a VA who I assigned to do everything, because I didn't realize that I should break these things into projects and have different people working on each project and taking responsibility for each project. So that's okay. But I think it's really important to be realistic about what you can accomplish in a day. We will always overestimate what we can accomplish in a day and underestimate what we can accomplish in longer periods of time, like a year or 5 years or a life. So, planning realistically for success based on the resources that you have. Obviously, if you can hire team members, you can get these projects kicked out of the way a lot faster. But if you're not there yet, you can't afford someone yet, or you're just not comfortable outsourcing for whatever reason, this whole conversation is vital, because it means that if you take 20 hours and focus on your client experience today, that later on, you won't have wasted 80 hours repeating the same processes over and over and over again. So while it seems like a lot of time to get your client experience shored up and in good condition from the start, it really isn't. You're actually saving time. It's kind of like, I guess, putting money in a savings account, right? Like you lose that money for now because it's tucked away in the savings account, but then it grows and grows and grows and grows and keeps giving back to you as the time goes on. So every single time, if you have a good client experience, you've taken the time, set it up, doesn't have to be perfect. You're always going to be adding to it, changing things. I mean, I'm always updating our templates, and I'm always updating, what I want the workflow to look like, just little tweaks here and there. But if you're starting from absolutely nothing, because you haven't taken, that dedicated day or two or whatever you have available, if you're setting up from nothing every single time, starting over from scratch with each client, you're wasting a tremendous amount of time. And that's time that you could have been working on one of these other projects, moving your business forward in a positive direction, instead of just kind of staying stuck in the mud and watching those wheels spin forever.
Right. Oh, you make such good points there about just setting things up ahead to save yourself time in the long run. And even if that means just taking an email and copying the same email body to Evernote and being able to plug that in every response instead of having to retype.
So you can do that with Google canned responses too, where it'll just auto-populate. Or if you're like me, I love Macmail. I'm probably like one of the handful of people who do, but from who I've talked to, but I love Macmail. And you can even create signatures per each email address that you have. So we have I'm not even kidding, I probably have 16 email addresses coming to me. Again, happened over time, but each of those email addresses has templated responses that I can then just click as a signature, pull it up, and then tweak it as I need. So I'm not rewriting that every single time.
That's so smart. I would have never thought to use the email signature as like a pre-written email body.
Yeah, I did not come up with that. Someone taught that to me, and I'm very sorry, someone, because I can't remember who you are.
So, well, let us know where we can find you. And I know that you were offering an awesome opt-in and, freebie to our audience of just about, how to get set up in a business and make sure that you're checking all of your boxes legally and, on the right path. So tell us a little bit about that, where we can find it and where we can find you online.
Yeah, sure, Lauren. Okay. So, like I said, all we sell are contracts. I pulled all my courses off the market because all I wanted to do was focus on selling contracts and use all the content from those courses to basically teach you guys what used to be in them. And so some of that content has been wrapped up into a resource called the Legit Plus Profitable Business Guide, which walks you through, it's basically a hand-holding guide to walk you through how to get your business set up. So the number one question that I was getting is, how do I know I'm doing this all right? Where do I get started? This is that. It just does it for you. And you can get it for free. It's a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/legit profits. And that's all in caps with an S. So legit profits, because we want you to make some profits that are pretty legit in your business. And yeah, you can get that at that link, and I'm pretty much everywhere. You can just Google Christina Scalera, get it half right. It'll take you there through Google. I have that weird last name that's super easy to find because it finds me for you.
Perfect. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing all about client experience and contracts. Super, super helpful. So I think this will definitely help people take back their business if you get organized, get ahead of your game, and are able to get those client referrals and build up your business to just look a little bit more polished and professional by having that in place. So thank you for joining, and make sure anybody who's tuning in, thank you for watching, and head on over to bosscation.com/takebackyourbiz to catch other influencer interviews about how they have taken back their business, their evenings, their time with family, and their power, all sorts of different topics that we are talking about. And also we have a free challenge to help you get more joy and freedom in your business. So check that all out, bosscation.com/takebackyourbiz. So bye for now.
Thanks, Lauren.